think I am right. I am now live. Bonjour, bonjour. I'm so glad to be back here. Welcome. If you are watching the replay, please say hi in the comments or say replay or hashtag replay so I know that you came. And this is new. I have started reposting these lives on YouTube because then they become searchable and they become easier to find. So if you're watching now the replay on YouTube, welcome to you. I am so glad that you're here. I have also put all those live in a playlist. So on YouTube, you'll be able to see the playlist up here. If you want to catch up, in all cases, please give me a comment and say hi so I know that you came. And if you have any question or any feedback, your comments are very, very welcome. So we have Connie here. Hi, Connie. So sweet to have you here. I'm super glad to see you back. By the way, if you're new to me and you don't know me yet, my name is Angèle Preto. I am a French learning coach, and I love to speak about language learning and French learning and how you can live a more expanded life with more than one language. So if you are an English speaker and you want to learn French, or you are currently learning French and you want to hone your French skills, here is a great place for you to be. So today's topic is making sense of contradictory, put the inverted commas, contradictory French learning advice. So tell me, those of you who are watching live right now, hi Linda, so cool to have you here. Tell me if you have ever felt that the language learning or French learning advice that you can see online or that even that I give is, have you ever felt that it's contradictory? I've noticed that if you're kind of new or if you don't grasp the whole thing yet, it can feel completely contradictory because at the same time, I tell people to spend as much time as they can bathing in French and having a French life. I even have a little course, well, not that little, I shouldn't say little, it's just smaller than the other one, okay? I even have a course which is called the French Life Launchpad, and yeah, that's one piece of the advice that I give. Just spend as much time as you can with French. Hi, Elena. Oh, it's so cool to see you here. I'm really glad you're back. Tell me how you're doing. I haven't had any news from you for quite some time, so really cool. Tell me how you are. So yeah, like I was saying, on the one hand, I have a course called the French Life Launchpad, and I tell people to bath in the French language and do their French bath daily and watch as much French stuff as they can. And on the other hand, I also use my fluency worksheet, which I actually forgot to have here, but you've seen it, right? Actually, let me just grab it. So I also use my fluency worksheet where the whole point of it is to determine exactly what you need to learn so that you spend as little time as possible and you get the biggest impact that you can get for the time that you spend. So it sounds like I give you at the same time the advice of spending as much time with French as possible, and on the other hand, as little time as possible and as little effort as possible. So please tell me if that sounds contradictory to you or if it makes complete sense, because I realize I'm like, yeah, if I don't explain that more specifically, it might just come off as completely contradictory and like I say one thing and then the other. Just let me know in the comment. And this is the worksheet I was speaking about. So basically it is made to define exactly what you need to learn so you can practice just that and you don't waste time practicing things that you don't actually need to learn. So that's the second half of it. And so it actually makes some sense to have both. And I will explain why right now and why both are actually complementary and not contradictory. So I'm totally off, like I have an outline, but I haven't touched it yet. So it's completely off what I said now. Okay, we have a comment from Connie. I don't think it's a problem. You immerse yourself in the listening or watching a show. Studying is a different thing. Just study what you need. Yep, well, you got it, basically. I can see that you've studied the French Life Launchpad already, so you got the answer. Maybe it's not as clear if for the people who haven't joined that course, but basically, yeah, that is it. So how to know what to do? Like, okay, give me a second. Yes, so basically I like to call that the holistic approach versus a targeted approach. And it's not one or both, you actually need both, like Connie just said. So you immerse yourself in the listening or the watching a show. Basically, you have to spend as much time as possible doing things that you enjoy and that require low effort. So it's really all, sometimes I also call that the passive study versus the active study. So passive would be more like holistic, and well, holistic would be the whole, I guess. But passive study is more like immersion, and active study is more the targeted practice. So everything that you enjoy or that requires low effort has to be as much, you have to do as much of that as possible. So here are some examples of things that you can do. And for those of you who have taken the French Life Launchpad or who are in the French Fluency Accelerator, you have heard that before, because all of that is from the French Fluency Accelerator, and some of it is also in the Launchpad, but not all. So listening to music, it's a big one. You can listen to music at any time, even if you're completely exhausted. It doesn't matter. If it's music that you enjoy, just listen to as much as you can, and then your brain will sort of subconsciously not swallow, but assimilate the language. The same goes for watching movies. So if you enjoy watching series, I know there's a new series on Netflix called Lupin, which is in French, and some of my students have already said that they enjoy it. So that's one thing you can do, watch it in French with either English subtitles or French subtitles, depending on your level of skills. Switching your phone to French. I believe this is from the module about manifesting techniques for learning French. We have a module about manifesting techniques for learning French in the French Accelerator. And you can switch your phone to French as long as it doesn't hinder your use of your phone. It will allow you to passively and subconsciously learn those words. You can have French quotes in your environment. This is also from the module about manifesting. If you have French quotes that you like or that inspire you, you can just put them around you in your environment, and that will also help you assimilate those words. You will end up just knowing those words, and sometimes even knowing the grammar that's associated to it without even realizing that you learned it. And of course, you can switch them up from time to time, however you want. So those are examples of immersive practice, and that you need to do. It's not really doing, but you need to have as much of that as possible. So more French in your environment, basically, because that helps your subconscious learn with no effort on your part involved. So sometimes it can be that it tires you a little bit more because you're still doing something, but it's not as tiring as targeted practice, which is the second thing. So the targeted practice is typically less enjoyable. Of course, that might depend on the people, but most people don't love learning vocabulary or learning verbs or learning grammar. It's just something that requires a bit more effort. And so for that, you need to be more mindful of what you choose and really choose the things that will bring you the immediate benefit. So for example, in the vocabulary notebook, I recommend that you, it doesn't have to be a notebook. It could be a flashcard app, but I've noticed that most students actually like to use a notebook. Like about 80% of people are just happy with the traditional notebook. So in that notebook, you really want to write only the words that are very useful. The key to that is that you hear it. So if it's a word that you hear all the time, then that word is something you need to learn, because if you keep hearing it, you will keep hearing it, and once you know it, it's basically one more word that you don't have to wonder about. Or you need it. So you need it is when you, for example, you need to go to a shop and ask the salesperson for something in French, then you want to research this word because you need it. But if the new word that you have doesn't fit any of those two criteria, it's a word that you can just leave out, and don't worry, if it turns out that it was important, the word will show up again. That's basically the essence of this rule. So you want to spend as little time as possible with your vocabulary notebook. It's good to do 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening, but you don't need to do more. There's actually no point of doing it more. It's more important to do it regularly and to have the right words than to spend more time with it. The same is true for verbs. I mean, I guess verbs are just a particular category of words, and for conjugation patterns. So you might know that French verbs conjugate according to different conjugation patterns. There are many different patterns, but they are not an unlimited number of patterns. So whenever you learn a verb, it's good to know which pattern it goes with. And when you see that a pattern is frequent, or that a particular verb like avoir or être, those don't have other verbs on their patterns, but they are very frequent, so you will need to learn them sooner or later. So learn the verbs that are really frequent and which you really need, and for the other ones, learn according to which pattern they go, so you don't have to learn the conjugation of every single verb. You learn it once and that's it. It's true as well for grammar features. So when you notice that there is a feature that you can learn now, or a feature that's something that you keep seeing, for example, the biggest issue, that's like the moment basically that marks the difference between being a beginner and being an intermediate student, is when you learn to speak in the past. I have an entire workshop in the French Fluency Accelerator about speaking in the past. In fact, I have 2 about verbs. There's one about verbs in general, which is suitable for beginners. And after you've learned the workshop about verbs, then you can move on to the one about speaking in the past, which is a bit more advanced. And basically, with grammar, you want to learn one chunk at a time and assimilate it, because there's no point in binging on the grammar and I don't know, like doing the entire grammar book or watching all the grammar workshops at once. I know it's tempting to binge on content. It's something that I tend to do. When I buy a course, I tend to binge on all the content, and then I realize I have to go back and watch it again and start really applying and taking notes. I'm guilty of that. I know that it's not the best way to consume content, and especially not something like my courses, which tend to be very, very packed, and they can get complex quickly, but that's because they are meant to be consumed little by little. And in fact, I deliver the workshops live because it's easiest for me. It's just the best way that I like to create content. But then in the member zone, and you know that if you're either a student of the Accelerator or of the French Life Launchpad, you'll notice that the workshops are then cut into several parts. And that is so that you can watch them little by little and start over more easily where you stopped. And the reason is because learning a lot of grammar is worthless if you don't know how to apply it. So you want to learn one little chunk at a time, and you want to learn what has the most impact right now. So for that, it can be useful to either have a coach like me. I still have 1 or 2 spots for one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in that, you can always hit me up and we can have a talk about it. But also in the French Fluency Accelerator, I have a students community. It's a different Facebook group, not the same as this one where we're having the live class. This one is more public and open, and a bit everybody can see what you're doing. But the French Fluency Accelerators group is really secluded. I'm sure we have Linda here who's in the Accelerator, so maybe you can tell us a bit more about the group. It's very small. I think we have around 20 students in that group at the moment. And they're really super supportive. Like, I love every single one of those students. They're just amazing. They are all really friendly, very welcoming, and very supportive. It's a place where when you struggle to learn something, or when you struggle with something that's loosely related to your French study, even if it's anxiety or something like that, that's something that affects your French study, so you can come and speak about it. And not only I will answer your questions and give you personal advice, but also the other students are really super supportive. So when you're not in the French Accelerator, you can only come to those live office hours where I can answer your question live. But when you are in the French Accelerator, you can basically call me in, so I answer your questions. So that's also an advantage. I've put the link in the description of this live class. And by the way, for those of you who are in the French Life Launchpad, I've just sent you an email with a special discount code that you can use to join the French Accelerator. And if you use it right now, not only you'll get the 2020 price, which is still on until the 1st of February, but also you get another $150 off. So it's significantly cheaper if you join now in January. You still have some time, but please don't forget about it altogether if you're considering. Yeah, it's going to be much cheaper if you're already a French Life Launchpad student, and I know that some of you are. So, yep, that's basically what I can say today. As usual, I am happy to answer your questions. How long have I rambled? Hey, only 15 minutes. I've made progress in being more concise. Just patting myself on the back. Anyway, if you have any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about, now is a great time. Yeah, just type them in the comment, and I'm happy to hang out with you as long as we still have questions. And by the way, if it lasts a bit longer, we might attract other students, because I've noticed that Facebook tends to bring in more students when some students have already been in live, which is a bit dumb because it means that those students will catch up in the meantime. But we might as well end up having other students here, and they might get a chance to ask their questions as well. So if you have any question or anything you'd like me to talk about, now is the time. Just getting some tea in the meantime. So we have it's a little, oh wow, that's long. Let me read that. So it's from Linda. She's a French Fluency Accelerator student, and she says, we meet once a month for a workshop or online class. I actually think that I should explain the difference between that. So I'll do that for a workshop or online class, and then these are then in our member zone for those who couldn't make it. Yep. Every day, so we post things in the private Facebook group, everything from requests or for help or support to funny pictures and memes about French, stuff about French culture, etc. Everyone there is absolutely lovely. Yeah, I can only confirm that. Everybody there is super lovely, and the things posted range from traveling pictures to children's song in French. It's really very eclectic. It's because also it's a very small group, so we have this really friendly atmosphere, and there's like it's not very academic. It's very relaxed, and then the workshops are a bit more serious, and the live classes too. So I made a difference between they're all live, but the workshop is mostly me talking. So I prepare a topic very in depth, not like that. And this is already a lot more preparation for this live than I generally do. Often I just take a couple of notes on paper, but when I make a workshop for the French Accelerator, I do go very much in depth. Sometimes there's more than 100 slides. I always have slides, and yeah, it ranges from 60 to 120 slides. Sometimes it's absolutely ridiculous. I have to rein myself in. Also, the topic. Okay, yeah. The students in the French Accelerator choose the topics for each workshop. So there's a list of topics which is rolling, and whenever I notice that there's something we could speak about which could be of value, I add it to the list, and then the students vote for each new workshop. So the new one, and by the way, I have a list here if you want me to read it of the workshops that already exist. The new one that I will make in February is about staying motivated and consistent and making progress regularly. And I've already started working on it, even though I believe it's on February 18th or 17th, so it's 1 month from now. And yeah, I have to I have to bring myself in because I have so many ideas from this workshop. I've already started working on it, and yeah, there's lots of content. It's a lot less relaxed than the way I talk here, because here I just basically come and talk about one small topic. For the workshops, I really carve out a lot of content, and I find the research, and I go out and read books or recommend even books that you can use for depending on the topic, and it's really compact. That's different from the live classes, where in the live classes I pick. Sometimes the students choose it as well, but we pick a song or a video or sometimes both, and I write questions. So the French song or French videos, or I write questions. And then I send at least 1 week before the live class. I send out the exercises and the questions, and then the students can prepare their homework, and then we come on live, and you can give your answers live. So it's very enjoyable, especially for me, because I don't have to talk as much. The students talk a lot more. And when we have 3 or 4 students live, it's very, very nice because everybody gets to speak, and you get to practice French in this way. And then if you can't make it live, which it's always on Sundays, the workshops are on Wednesdays, but the live classes are on Sundays, because I try to make it at a time where most people can join. If you can't make it, then there is the member zone, obviously, and then you can share your answers in the Facebook group and get feedback then. So it's always possible to catch up, and it's also really nice to have you live. So Linda's saying we would thank God you're here, Linda, because I forget most of there's just so much stuff in this French Accelerator. I forget what's in it. We usually have a workbook or handout too for the workshop. Yes, so I also write everything in a PDF basically, so you can review it faster. You can also read the PDF first if you want, but if you're new to the topic, it's probably better to watch the workshop first. Speaking of which, let me just give you the list of workshops, and then I'll tell you about the scholarship program, because I realized that I forgot talking about that, and it's like the new thing of this week, but I'm a bit distracted sometimes. So all the workshops we have, so those of you who are in the Launchpad, you know the first 3. It's how to craft your French curriculum, discover the best resources for you, and design your French learning routine. And so this is the content that's common with the French Life Launchpad. That's also why the French Life Launchpad have a special discount for joining. But then we have an entire list of other topics. So building sentences fast in a conversation. That was the first one that was chosen by the students when they got a chance to vote. And I was like, Oh my God, it's like the entire How to Be Fluent all over again. But it was a super fun workshop. I came up with 14 different things that could be preventing you from speaking French fast, and then how to address those things. And the next one was how to understand native when they speak fast. Then we have two about verbs, like I said, verbs and conjugation 101, and then there's speaking and writing in the past. Then we have mastering French pronunciation, which is the one that I plan to release in February. So if you join the French Fluency Accelerator now, you actually get access to that course and all the others before everyone else. So that's cool. Then there's mastering French word order. We had so much fun with this one because I didn't realize how challenging the French word order is until I made that workshop because I'm a native. And for me, it's not that hard, but actually it's, 16 different positions, and let's just not speak about it now. I'll make more content. There's a video on my YouTube channel about French word order, and then there's this workshop, which is I think 90 minutes in total, really long. Then one of my favorite is the manifesting techniques for French learning. I was surprised when students voted for this topic, and I was even more surprised the next month when they voted for energy clearing for French learning. So that's the woo-woo aspect, and we called it energy toolkit on the presentation page, which you have the link for. And it's like, I love making those workshops, and I know that the students are still using them. There's also a hypnotherapy track as a bonus in that workshop, which is made by my own hypnotherapist. So those are really, really dear to my heart. I look forward to releasing them out if people want to join those individually, but for now, the only way you can have them is by joining the French Accelerator. And then we have how to have meaningful conversations in French, because it's true that sometimes when you're learning French, you're always kind of stuck with same conversations, a bit more small talk, and not really the conversations you want to have. So I made a workshop on how to do that. And then there's one about French adjectives and their genders and their location and all of that stuff. And then there's mastering French pronouns. And finally, there is a course. It's not really one of those workshops. It's under a different format, but it's a little course that you can take really rapidly about how to find the time to learn French and what you can do with the time you have. So those are all the workshops that exist. And like I said, we also have 4 so far French live classes. It's more like 5, to be honest, but the last one is in 2 parts, so I would consider it to be 4. I just had the second part of the live class yesterday. Linda was here. That was so awesome. Like, I love the participation of the students, and I love how they interpreted the French video that we were studying and how they made relations with the culture in Canada and in the US. That was awesome. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Linda's saying we love the woo. Yeah, I saw that you love the woo. That was I was very impressed that those topics were picked. But it was an amazing experience creating those workshops, and I just love working with you guys in the group and having you practicing this. It's really cool. So, do we have any questions? I see we still have 2 people live at the moment. So if any of you want to ask something. Yes, I have to speak about the scholarship program. Why do I forget about that? So there is now a link on my website. So the website is frenchfluency.net. On the homepage, there is a link for a scholarship program. So for every person who joins now the French Fluency Accelerator, and for every person who has an annual membership, you can join monthly, but it's more expensive, or you can join for the entire year. And for every person who joins for the entire year, first I will give you an exclusive one-on-one session with me, so we can practice just you and me together. And we will also give an annual access to a deserving student. So if you are a student who is looking to learn French, but you don't have a lot of resources, you can apply for a scholarship. And when someone joins, I will also select one person from the scholarship application pool, and I will give out a membership to every, like for each person who joins and pays for a membership, I will also give one free to a deserving student. So that is something that you can do. If you are listening to me and you're like, oh my God, I wish I could join, but I don't have money because I live in a remote country, or remote, we're all remote, but you see what I mean. Like, you might live in a country where you don't have the same kind of resources as people who live in the US. I mostly create those courses for people who live in the US because most of my clients do. US or Canada or Australia, or I also have clients in Hong Kong and Singapore. But those are rich countries, and there are countries where you might be living where you just don't have the same kind of resources. So that's why I created this scholarship program. So you can just, there is a form which you can fill. Please take your time by filling the form, because the more I know about you, the more likely you are to gain a scholarship. So I hope that makes sense. I will speak about this later on again. We still have 2 weeks. Wait, no, Jan. Yeah, about 2 weeks until the price increases. The price will increase on February 1st. I know it's written January 31st on the page, but I decided to change that to February 1st just because it's a Monday, and then that allows me to go live on the last day. And if you have any questions on the last day before the price increases, it goes from $6.97 to $9.97, so that's a big increase. And if you join now, you will keep the current price forever as long as you're a member. So that's worth considering. I know that now is a terrible time to ask, especially people in the US, to make personal development decisions like that, because the political situation is not the best. Let's just say that. I hope it will get better after this week. I'm a bit tense, just thinking of the inauguration and everything that will happen. But hey, we gotta keep getting on with our life. I can't imagine how tense you are over there, because I'm already tense just thinking about it, and I'm not in the country with you, definitely not. So I totally empathize with that. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of staying home and hoping for the best. I mean, we're all staying home because of COVID anyway, so yeah. Right. If there's no question, I'm gonna go. So just like, I was just gonna wait here a little bit to see if anyone has a question. Not necessarily about the French Accelerator. I mean, that could be about anything regarding French learning, just any topic at all. And else, I'm just going to go. I will repost this live video onto YouTube, so it will be easier to find. But of course, you can always catch up on the Facebook group too if it's easier for you, or if you find it here, you don't have to move to YouTube. It's something I should have said at the beginning. So yeah, I hope I included everything. Linda, is there anything that I haven't spoken about because I forgot, because there's so much stuff in that course? I think that's it. But if you remember something else. Connie's saying, no question, thank you again. Well, thank you for joining. It's an absolute pleasure to have you live here every week. I always look forward to seeing you. So I guess I'll see you next week again. And if you have any questions, you can prepare them in the meantime. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next week. I'll probably, I will be speaking more. I haven't spoken about Telegram, but I'm sure you guys already are on Telegram. But I'll definitely be sharing more on Telegram as I work this week. And yeah. Linda saying, I don't think so, we're good. All right, well, thank you guys for being here. It was awesome as usual, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, have a good week.